Welcome back, darlings. This is a job from a few weeks ago. When I say job, actually it was a freebie. So I was doing this as a way of saying thank you to one of the members of the PTA at my daughter's old school, because they'd done a fantastic job while we were there, and I thought this was a better way of saying thanks than getting them a box of chocolates or a bunch of flowers or a bottle of bubbly or something like that. You know, people like a nice clean car. I hadn't realised how bad it was before I'd offered this, but that doesn't matter. This is in really just for a maintenance clean, although as you can see from the inside it needs a bit more than a maintenance clean, but I'm not going on for a full-on deep clean. So I thought in this video I'd take you along for a ride, and it was a hell of a ride, because those third row seats, I don't know what it is about third row seats, they always seem to be the worst, but also you can tell all manufacturers use worse materials in the very back there. What I thought I would do in this video, for a bit of a change, is mix up doing some sped up footage as well as some real-time footage. So it's going to be a longer video, but you can get to see my sort of process and what I go through. So I'm starting off with the Turnador, or one of those vortex guns, and I'm going to be blowing out as much as I possibly can. I'm not going to talk over this whole thing for you. You can see what's going on. But I just want to explain. You could start straight away with the vacuum, but I knew there was lots of loose debris in here, and this is helping blast that off and down to a lower level, so when I vacuum I'll be able to get more of it. I'm battling there with the fact that the the seats weren't moving, and I didn't realise you had to have the ignition on. On my Mercedes they come on when they're active when you open the door. Anyway, I'll get around that a bit later on. There's here lots of loose surface stuff, and if I can blast that off and get it dislodged, when I vacuum up it will bring it all up. You can see that the whole car has got factory fit rubber mats. I do not understand why manufacturers don't make rubber mats the default option and then charge you to have the carpet ones, because the carpet ones are the more premium option and they're so much worse, like to clean. I always put rubber mats in my vehicles because they're just so much easier to look after. Anyway, if I was doing a full-on deep clean, I would have blasted everything to within an inch of its life. But I'm doing a maintenance clean. So, once I found the ignition, worked out how to open up these bolsters and just clear out as much as possible. That's exactly what I did. Doing the passenger side, I found there is a sizable amount hidden in there. That's why you should always open these up. And different manufacturers do them differently. But look at this. A bit of fun, wasn't it? So you're going to see me now go through this. It's going to be in fits and starts of being real time and time lapse or sped up. And I'll just interject every now and then when I'm introducing a new product and explain what I'm doing. But yeah, sit back and relax and see what it can be like for a valeter and detailer doing customer jobs. Because if you're into your car cleaning and detailing, you probably never let your car get as bad as this. And ostensibly this isn't actually that bad. I've done far worse. But you may not appreciate the amount of time and effort goes into just doing a basic clean on things that are this dirty. Oh look, there's dog hair. Brilliant. So I am going to show you in a bit how much effort goes into removing dog hair, and you can see the real-time effort taken in doing that, and why that adds so much to one of these jobs. I thought I'd give you a bit of respite from my real-time shenanigans and give you some sped up. Now, I'm just doing my usual dusting and vacuuming. I put the soft nozzle on the vacuum cleaner. I use a detail brush. I don't usually use an ultra soft detailing brush unless there's bits that are highly likely to be scratched. That centre console does have some gloss black in, but it was really scuffed up already. My boar's head brush wouldn't make a blind bit of difference there. Going around here, rubber mats, I do love them. I think they're brilliant, as I said earlier. What you can see, and I'm doing a maintenance one here, I generally don't take the mats out. I will lift them up and I'll vacuum around the edges to make sure they're all clear. if they're really well fitting, which rubber mats usually are, more so than fabric ones. Although what I did do for the front ones and the ones in the rear, I took them all out. Actually, I actually did the ones in the middle as well. Yeah, I didn't do this on camera. I took them all out and snow foamed them and pressure washed them just to tart them up a bit and make them look better. Didn't drill brush them, didn't give them the deep clean, but they needed something, so that's what I did. Now you can see the absolute joys of pet hair removal. You can see in a minute I use one of these lily brush style tools. I like them. I think they work really well. I much prefer them to the big blocks, like the Jewel one, for example. I just don't think they work particularly well, and they're not easy in small areas like this. And for bigger areas, I've got other tools that I use, like a bigger version of the lily brush, really. But yeah, this is how I go about it, and I think it's worth you seeing, because this will help you understand why I charge a surcharge for pet hair removal, because, well, you can just see how much effort is involved with removing a pretty small area of it here, and in carpet that is pretty good quality and is releasing it fairly easily. The cheaper your car and the worse quality the carpet, the harder this is, and the more I will charge when I'm doing it. But it's worth you seeing. Now you may be thinking, why did I not use the vortex tool and the blow tool? I used it at the beginning, you see, and I could have gone absolutely to town on this, but I'd have had to then vacuum over everywhere else all over again. So the reason I didn't do that is because I wasn't doing a deep clean here. If I was doing a deep clean, I would absolutely have done that. But then again, I would have factored in a lot more time to do that. I probably wouldn't have offered it for free either. I might have given them a discount rate for it. You'll also note I've left the rubber mat in at the moment. I do take it out later, but the reason it's in still at the moment is it's going to catch stuff that flicks up and make it easier to get out, because the dog hair won't weave into the rubber mat like it would with a fabric mat, carpet mat. So that's why that's left in and still looking a bit grubby. I'm working my way downwards. They do eventually come out though. And I'm now doing my least favourite part of 3-row cars, and that is the third row. It's incredibly tight because of the way they package things. Very clever. The carpet never seems to be quite as good in the back of these bits. I don't know why. They also seem to be the bit that gets the most mess. Again, I don't know why. And if you can see here, they've got the rubber mats, which are brilliant, but they don't actually seem to go all the way back. So something has fallen down there at some point. I managed to remove a McDonald's sauce pot, so I reckon it is barbecue sauce. It's filthy in here. There's muddy boots that have gone in. You know, like, I'm doing my best with what I'm doing. I could have achieved an awful lot more if I was doing a deep clean. You could get those pristine if I was wet vacuuming and blowing it all out with the air compressor and maybe using a drill brush and stuff like that. But that isn't what I was offering here. But also you have to remember, when you use those tools, they throw it everywhere. Absolutely everywhere. So it's good you do get it clean, but you have to go and kind of do that. You have to do some vacuuming and do some more and more. This is sped up twice. So it's 2 times as fast, as you can probably tell. But it's understanding what you're being employed to do. No, obviously I wasn't being employed at all here, if that makes sense. It was a freebie, so anything's better than nothing, and I still got it looking really good. But I just want to make you aware of that as a viewer when you're watching this and go, oh, you can do that and do this. But no, I could have absolutely done that, but I I said by the end of this, I was an hour behind where I wanted to be just from the interior, and I could have spent a whole day just on the interior on this, and it would have looked pristine by the end of it. But that's not what I was there for. Apologies if this is making you a bit seasick with all the motion being sped up, but it's almost over, I promise you that. It'd be interesting to hear other people's stories who do this. If you're a professional or a hobbyist, that's watch this and they've done other cars that are similar. What do you find? What techniques do you go with? Do you vacuum down? I work my way top down, and I generally work my way back to front. That's what I prefer to do. Now, also on a maintenance one, I generally don't do what I call wet work, which is what I'm doing here. I don't try not to do it because it's, again, really time consuming. But this car needed it. It was so dirty that it needed a bit of a wipe down. So what I'm actually using here is rinsless. This is Kotkemi RRW, Rapid Rinseless Wash. Probably about 256 to 1. And I'm using that everywhere because it's a really good cleaner. And with that, with the scrub brush and the scrub pad and the regular brush, it will do anything on the interior. It's fine on touchscreens, which you'll see me do a bit later. It will clean leather, it will clean plastics, it will clean glass. So I can use one product everywhere, and I did. I did it here. I used to clean the screens, the dials, the steering wheel, the gear knob. I went over every seat. But the brilliant thing about rinseless, especially for a maintenance clean or just a light bit of cleaning, is you can just wipe it down. It doesn't create loads of foam and suds, and it leaves a brilliant finish. So that is why I use it for maintenance stuff. But yeah, it looks really good. It's a great leather cleaner for stuff that just needs a bit of a freshen up. It will remove the grit and grease and grime that you get on those seats, especially on the steering wheel. It did a fantastic job. Yeah, if I was doing a deep clean, I'd be in there with the Polestar. But for this, I have to say, it makes it look fantastic, and it makes it easy and quicker. Because with Polestar, as good as it is, you definitely need to wipe it down and then finish off with something else, or wipe over with another cloth that's damp afterwards. I actually usually wipe down with a rinseless after I've done the Polestar bit. Anyway, I'm almost at the end of this sped up footage on my head, and then we're going to go back to some time lapse. So onto these wheels. Now they're big and they're dirty. Okay, there's one that's worse, and I'll get to that later. I'm starting off with the Malco Break Off. This stuff is a really strong alkaline cleaner. Generally shifts most things. Leave it on there for 2 to 3 minutes, which I'm letting it dwell for here. Come back and blast it off and see where you've got to. You always apply it to a dry wheel, and there have been very few times that I've come away from the wheel thinking, well, that hasn't done the job. But I tell you what, this was one of them. As you see me blast it off here, there is still a lot left on. I was like, okay, going to need the acid for this one. Maybe I should have started with the acid, but I certainly went to it next. So that's going to be KKD's Devil Juice. And when I get to it, I supply it on. I give it a soak for 3-4 minutes, come back and give it like a regular clean. And that still wasn't doing the job. So this is the Devil's Juice going on. I didn't show you the cleaning process, I didn't record it. But this is me blasting that off, and I was like, oh, okay. So time for some fallout remover. This is Constellation Chemicals fallout remover. It's the only thing I found that's almost marginally stronger than Corosol. I think it is. This really did start to make a good job. But the thing is, this was taking time. And this is that rear wheel. The one that I had, the Seas brake caliper, I reckon. So this was the second hit of wheel acid. And this is, I 1 to 2 at that point. It just wasn't coming off. And I'd already spent probably about an hour on the wheels at this point. So I went onto the body. And I thought I've made these as good as I possibly can look in the time that I'm allowing for it. So I'm going on. This is Kotkemi VB, foamed on, left to dwell for 2 to 3 minutes. That's 3% PIR, panel impact ratio. Now I was going to give it a regular wash. From here on in, it's pretty straightforward. I never did get that rear wheel completely sorted out. All the others came up looking a lot better, but weren't perfect. I could have made them perfect, but I would have spent about 2 hours just on the wheels alone, and I just didn't have that time available. Doing the contact wash now, that is Kotkemi VB again, about 100ml in the bucket. And I'm using the CarPro Dab Dab and a 2-bucket method for doing the wash. This car actually is in very good condition. I think maybe because it hasn't been washed too much. So I'm rinsing that down, and then I'm going to put on a nice foam sealant, and that is going to be Yum Foam Plus here. I like that. It works really well. It leaves a decent amount of protection, a lovely lot of gloss, as you can see here. Just rinsing it down. You see how hydrophobic that's gotten. Now I'm going to dry that off with the, this is the vacuum cleaner. So it's my Nilfisk Buddy 212 with the 4-meter hose. And I just put the crevice tool on the end using its blower function. And blow it all off. Towel dry it down. And tyre shine on. A little bit of that. And we're just left with this. So this is that rear wheel. I reckon I would have got there eventually, but it would have taken a lot of effort. So that's as much as I was willing to do. Front's looking much, much better. There's still a bit of brake dust there, don't get me wrong. Again, they could have all done with a bit more work, I would say. But there's how much time do you want to spend? I did clean those pedals afterwards. I'd forgotten at this point. But yeah, it came up looking really good. I'm really pleased with the effort. But for a maintenance clean, this was a lot.